Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Welcome to the Art of Rock. We do this every week, every Tuesday, actually Saturday. I was lying when I said Tuesday, I was lying. First and foremost, I want to thank the Tongva people as the traditional landowners of Los Angeles, California. I thank you for surviving. I sincerely mean that. Wow, so many screens are open on my fucking screen right now. I just can hardly handle it. Okay, so kids, Art of Rock here every week, hopefully. Please join us and get your dose of art and rock and stuff. This is brought to you by angelspit's Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you got $3 that you want to throw my way each month, it's there. Otherwise, join for free. The Nebula Suite is the new album from Ice Planet 9000. And if you order the Nebula Suite on the Kickstarter, if it's not there yet, it will be getting there today or tomorrow or over the next few days. And it's going out now, and I'm very happy with it. I listened back to it and I went, I don't hate this at all, which is always a nice feeling. Industrial Incisions playlist is where you can go to get some really awesome music, and I want you to go and listen to that because there's some awesome bands on it. Every Wednesday night, Vulture Culture does deep dives into synths. Adam, it's good to see you. You should watch it. There's the channel. Go like it. Wednesday nights. Really good. Dove into the Prophet 12 the other last Wednesday. It was bloody brilliant. Okay, so also non-stop fucking alternative dark rock and roll from the Bleeding Edge is MTV TV. There. When we're done here, we're going to raid to MTV TV. If you've got a video, send it to MTV TV. Alistair, welcome. Send it to MTV TV and they will play it. And they also have a Patreon, so please go support their Patreon because we've got to keep them going. It's always, a constant thing with a musician is finding places to promote your music. MTV TV will do that for you. They will take care of you, and we got to look after them. Razi, thank you so much for being the co-host.
I love to do it. It's great to be here. Thank you.
It is great to be here, for you to be here, and for us all to be here. And everything. This is the Art of Rock. So I've got a question, and this is about AIs and using them as a research tool for buying gear. And I used to look at reviews, and then I used to see what hi Rosie on face screaming thing. I used to look at the reviews of stuff. I used to look at influences, and now increasingly I'm just going to an AI. And I'm saying, if I'm down to two machines, I will say, compare this one to this one. And the AI is going to go and grab all of the reviews, and it's going to come back to you saying, well, if you do this sort of thing, get this one. And if you do this sort of thing, get this one. Super, super handy. So the question I'm throwing out there is, do you use AIs to, if you're ever looking at buying gear, do you use an AI? Do you use influencers? What do you do? Rezi, talk to me.
Yes. The short answer is yes. I used to. Oh God, there's three stages to this. Like when you really have sort of a major purchase coming up where the decision matters because you might have to live with it for a while and it won't be easy to just return as new and you're going to have an investment. Finding out why you even need this particular one is sometimes part of the thing. So like, what are the things, traditionally I did this with displays, like when new computer displays came out, what's the current generation, what sizes are the panels, what color gamuts are available, what price ranges are available, what sync frequencies will they support. So there's a lot of things to sort of juggle and compare. And I would make a table manually of which things were important and then start filling that out. So that was one of the first things that I started asking like ChatGPT to do. And it's pretty good at it. Make a table comparing all 34-inch 4K displays that have been released this year, features and benefits, and it'll do something pretty nice. And then you can throw that into either a Canvas side thing and keep editing on it, or save it to your local machine and start using that as your basis for comparison and paste it into your notes doc or use it in Excel or numbers. So you've got your features and benefits matrix, and you permanently can check that off and fill it in with price, latest, and whatever the things that you choose end up thinking are really important to you. So it doesn't save a lot, but it does save a step of setting up the table and populating it. So that's pretty cool. But sometimes to get to that, I would spend, as you were describing, Carl, a long time going through actual reviewer reviews, going through influencer reviews, going through the blurbs on the company's websites and looking at the actual specs and Amazon reviews and collecting the subjective kind of things like, oh, I hate it because actually the plastic turned yellow. Including a column about that. But that's actually gotten to be kind of a reliable shortcut. If you can sacrifice the thorough, exhaustive, you looked at it all for asking your chatbot to do it, they'll come up with a similar thing like, hey, give me the lay of the land on all influencers plus Amazon reviews, opinions on this particular class of things. And it'll give you the more, however it presents it, you can then say, hey, could you change that to be one short paragraph about each influencer or one short paragraph about each product, whichever way you want it presented. And thinking of the things the way that you think about it, asking the chatbot to think about them that way, and how to present the data feels a little bit more like a conversation and can be less of a slog. I don't know that it ends up taking less time or that you get better quality data, but for my money, having somebody to work with on it is a little bit, carries momentum. So those three features of it's a interactive thing to work with, it's a way to get the lay of what you're even looking for, and then a good way to populate that features table that you're probably going to be going with when you're choosing your new personal vibrator.
Thank you. And Eric, welcome. Rezi, I just want to throw it, I see your hand, but I'll throw this to you in a moment. One more question, Rezi. Do you just use the one chatbot AI, or do you use several? If so, which one do you use?
The one that I've paid for currently, and I can go into another fun, interesting story that I'd love to talk about later about it being a viable tour manager. ChatGPT is the one that I'm paid for a pro version, so I don't run out of tokens, but I do enjoy Claude and I don't have that much exposure now. I'm pretty much sticking with one to get to know the quirks and how you can shortcut and really maximize the effectiveness, because there are quirks in all of these, and you need to recognize when they're making up bullshit and saying that they're going to do something that they actually can't do. So knowing one is pretty helpful.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Brett, what are your thoughts?
So I do use ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, depending on the implementation, for all kinds of research. I would say that I do that almost daily. In terms of music stuff, or in terms of music gear, I haven't specifically shopped any new music gear. Part of that is to thwart my own instrument acquisitions. But I have used them for things like which AIs will be a better creative tool for something that I'm searching. And that's been useful. So in that regard, it's been more like searches into Copilot of, like album design or like cover art kind of things. I've used it in terms of finding and creating samples. But yeah, I would say that one of its skills is actually, when I use it professionally, is actually being able to dig really quickly through the tables of whatnot to show you a good comparison between things. And it seems to be pretty universally good at that.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, it's just another really interesting place where One thing I also enjoy doing is not just saying what are the good things about it or compare this one to this one, is also compare the cons of two different machines or different things. Because, they are drawing on user reviews. I mean, Amazon's got an AI that will say most users feel this way about something or, whatever. But it's, yeah, it's interesting because, garbage in, garbage out. It's difficult with synthesizers because a lot of influencers are going to say something positive most, because they want to keep happy with the product and everything like that. Yeah, I've been looking at delays, and really my core question is, do I need one? And that's why I don't buy a lot of gear, is that I always come back to, do I really need this thing? But yeah, I've come down to two, and I'm still questioning. Same with a phaser. Like, I really want a good fucking phaser, and I can't for the life of me find a good 1976 Bode fucking phaser of a jet engine being sucked into a fucking black hole. Can't find it. A lot of things say they are like that, but yeah. Although, just really quickly on the phaser, the best phaser I've ever heard is still the cheapest, and that's the small stone, the Electro-Harmonic small stone. You can get them on Craigslist for $50, and they are so fucking good. And off topic, I was thinking, why don't fucking Roland build modular versions of all of their fucking pedals? Like a DS1, fuck, why? Like a DS1, the phaser, the chorus, all of that shit, keep the color schemes, and you don't voltage control them too hard. Fucking, and all of their pedals, that would be dope. Same with Electro-Harmonics. Like, fucking, I would kill for a Big Muff or a Rat fucking distortion module. Like, you're just converting it to 15 volts, plus minus 15, and then you're upping and downing the audio thing to modular level. You'd have to drop it, then you'd have to up it. Why, God, why? 99% of the R&D there, I mean, that's a fucking resistor there and an amp there. Simple. No additional bullshit. Anyway, that's it. Does anybody else want to throw in? Hi, Eric.
I was trying to get it to do the hand thing, but I put my hand up. That AI is not happy with me. Okay. It's on topic. So I did a quick search when I was listening to Raz talk, and one thing I love is that Chaos pad, and every time I go to look for one, it doesn't quite have the right things. It's old. I got to buy a used one. So I searched, I said, what other modern synths like have Chaos like functions built into them that I should go look at? And it gave me some Novation options, some ASM I've never heard of, Roland options, and a couple other Korg options. And I thought that was pretty cool. And one of the things I was thinking of when Rez was talking is that the way I generally look at AI, whether it's for equipment or something else, it's just treat it like another person that's in the room that you go, hey, can you check on that? Can you look for that? Or an alternative to search quite often. Like I use ChatGPT for, like, I'll write up, I just put a song out this week, and I'll write up 3 or 4 promo lines for it and some interesting stuff. I'll throw it in there and say, give me 5 versions of this. Give me one that would be good for Bandcamp, one good for Facebook, one good for Instagram, and then I'll tell it to give me more versions, and then I'll have that so I have to tweak it. It's never 100%, like you were saying, but then I can go in there and then have it so it's like kind of beating the algorithm. Because if you send the same thing all the time, or you're sitting there trying to write it and you get distracted, you just don't get as many posts out as you could if it was easier to produce it. And then if you had someone in the room, you go, oh, what about this idea? What about that? You get a little bit of that, instead of just doing it by yourself the whole time. The other thing too, I like to use it for is sometimes I'll write in a notebook, with one of those things, a pen and a paper. I think we can still buy them. I haven't looked in a while. We'll have to look it up. But I'll take a picture, and Claude is great at taking my handwriting and digitizing that and putting that into a format. And then, like what Damon was saying, is that I'll go put a sample in or a voice from a voice pack, like Suno or something, and then I'll have it manipulate it, and I'll get the sample back out, and it'll be a totally different voice. Or I'll go put it into my DAW, put all these effects on it, and then throw it into the AI, and it'll give me all these weird, and it's the happy, weird, digital kind of distorted accidents that work for my music the best. So a lot of opportunities there.
So much. I want to circle back to the KaosPad because I have a KaosPad and I have a lot to say about this. Really interesting. What are you talking about? The new the iPen and the iPaper technology. That's incredible stuff. I'm not happy with the firmware of it. Like this is new state of the art iPaper and state of the art iPen. And I think I need a thing because like every time I misspell something, you know how there's the little red squiggly line? I'm not getting it on this for some reason.
Showing up on that, yeah. I've seen
It's
that
not
happen.
showing up. It's really interesting. And also the internet connectivity is crap.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's a feature though. It's air gapped for that reason. That's
Okay.
a
Do you
security
think
feature.
I got a feeling what they've done is they've just released a beta version,
There you go.
a beta, and it's like all that stuff's going to be implemented for now. And it's like this is really, really funny because it's basically a little chopstick. That's basically what it is. That it and actually the resolution on from iPen on iPaper is really, really interesting, and it's got really great smearing effects where you can use your thumb and you can smear. Really clever stuff. Long way to go though. Not as good as Photoshop. Thanks. We're going to circle back to KaosPad in a moment or 5. Razi, what are you thinking?
You've brought me far enough away from my original point that I think I've successfully lost it. But listening to us talk about what we use the LLMs, chatbots for reminds me that like the conversation in the room thing, if you're working on stuff that you don't do absolutely every day and have by rote and are just like really good at, if there's some element of your career and process that you only have to do once every quarter or periodically, and you're the type of person that benefits from having a conversation with somebody, these are strengths. And with the goal of hopefully becoming good enough at the thing while you're doing it to notice where their shortcomings are. And their shortcomings are at the surface, so it tends to be pretty easy. But like if you go at it with that approach, like I'm using this because I do want it to prompt me for these things because I have no motivation on my own or because I can't remember how I did it last time. And you're doing it with the eye on becoming savvy at finding their hallucinations and errors and going to the primary sources that they're presenting and still synthesizing the ideas on your own mind. It can be pretty useful, and you could be ahead of things if you compared with if you weren't using them. It's really a personal method, and I'm sure there's a million other ways of using it. So I should say that that's how I have found.
Yeah, absolutely relevant. And Jen, good to see you in the chat. And Diana, obviously. It's really interesting, Eric, what you were saying about here's my blurb. Now give me a Bandcamp version, give me a Facebook version, give me a da-da-da-da. That's brilliant. And I'm all about that. It's just so interesting that whenever I write something that is just off the cuff and random, it works. I don't know where that's going, but it's, yeah, they are really good companions, and little by little we are getting there. I just really want to have a little droid, an AI droid would be so fantastic. Rezi, you mentioned touring with the chatbot. I'm tour managing. I'm going to put a pin in that. I want to come back to that as well. But right now I see your hand.
Yeah, brief anecdote since we're talking about in the chat, offloading some of the shit work to it, and specifically with customer interactions. And I'm not going to name the company, but I had some problems with a product or service, and their support team was absolutely talking past me. And it was getting past the point at which I had already had another solution to getting my money back on this thing. And I still wanted to get them to admit to certain faults and stuff, so I sicked the bot on them, and my prompt was con a continuous obsequious refutation strategy, and I had it just generate like extra paragraphs of customer service sounding bullshit back at them, but with the strategy and points that I was trying to make. And I'm not sure if I got anything other than amusement out of it, but it was pretty funny. And it came with the same tone that they were using, like whatever it had trained on to get to this point was the same textbooks that their customer support were using. Yeah, I've really nothing specific to say about that, but it was kind of funny.
Can I ask you? I thank you, and it feels good to take just a little bit back. I thank God for the trolls. You know, we're going to have trollbots soon, and that's going to be that'll be a good day. I'm sure we do have trollbots already. Razi, tell me more about this tour managing with an AI chatbot.
Yeah. So kind of coming off of the Eric, did you want to jump in on something, or is it just getting the
Get my hand to work, so
your
I'll come
icon?
after you do. It's on the same thing. Thanks.
Coming off the experience of working closely with the chatbot on the same team to piss those people off, I was kind of inspired to step it up to like collaborative kind of thing. And this is new territory. I haven't actually planned the tour, but this speaks to the working with someone, quote unquote, about a thing, and just asking it to become an expert on indie solo tour management, and to become a very good tour manager or resource manager for the tour, to plan some excursions for me coming up, and like go. And like it so far has been pretty interesting and productive, coming up with good checklists, coming up and generating the PDF one sheets with the bio and EPKs and stuff, and coming up with next steps and reminders and things like that. So things that are not my strength, it was pushing into those territories really, really nicely. It definitely did one annoying thing, and this is maybe interesting to note. It promised that, this is ChatGPT specifically, it promised that, okay, cool, I'm working on a PDF with that information, check back in a while. And I was like, check, okay, I'll be patient. And I went off and did some other stuff, and I came back and like, can you actually work on stuff in the background? I thought it would just, you were just comparing tokens and generating an answer in real time. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I can't actually do stuff in behind the scenes in the background, quote unquote. So I'll try to stop suggesting that I'll do that, which it did not do. So I ended up with a few more interactions like that, and I finally changed it to please generate that PDF now. And it came up with a serviceable, although not beautiful, one sheet EPK about this small tour idea that I wouldn't use, but we refined it a bit, and it got me on to doing an HTML version of it and putting it on, I don't know if it was my own website or free hosting with GitHub. But at any rate, that kind of process and interaction, sometimes when I'm doing it by myself, I lose steam real early on in the process. And sometimes when I'm working with somebody else who has got a task and title, or a set of tasks given a title, it can be helpful. And indeed, throwing together something out of context of what I'm actually doing at the moment. Like, the context is this conversation about the project, not making an HTML page. My dude, Chatty G there, put together the HTML page. I didn't have to switch out of the mode that I was working on. I could continue along thinking about the project planning, and it was generating the things. It gets stronger as you go, because now it's got my press photo, and it's got the bio that's current, and it's got the dates and routing and size venues and stuff that I'm intending. And so it'll go out and fetch the possibly really bad suggestions. It'll go out and create the one sheet. It'll go out and create the checklist for next steps. And I never switch out of the flow mode of let's keep brainstorming about how this is going to go. I liked it. It was fun. Had I worked with a better human tour manager recently, I would probably be aghast at how stupid it was being, but I have not. And this is just a new idea that I was hatching. So it's pretty fun for that.
I thank you very much. This also brings into the thing of using it as a manager to help you get albums done, get this done, reaching out to DJs, all that sort of thing. I can't get emails out of mine though. I'll say, is there an email contact for this podcast? And it won't give me that information. Eric, I see your hand. A very quick question to Razi. Did you just refer to it as Chatty G?
Not my neologism nickname for it.
I'm so sorry. Let me rephrase the question. Did you just refer to it as Chatty G?
Chatty G.
Wow. Okay. Razi, I need to get your address, your mailing address, because I want to send you something in the mail. Yeah.
Would it involve eating spicy and or
Yeah. Let's just
bowel
say you can
irritating
use it for
foods?
fertilizer afterwards.
Okay.
Eric, save us from this unholy mess.
Oh, so much pressure. So last summer I did use it for something like what you're talking about, Rez. So we did 10 or 11 shows in Texas and area around here over in July. And so I created a chat bot that had all the information in it that I loaded up as the data kind of in a Word file. Just said, hey, go into these venues, because sometimes you just look at it in the regular prompt in the venues and it doesn't get the venues right. So you could do something like, so I started with, okay, I'm in Dallas. I'm not on tour yet. This is a month or two before. I'm like, I want to go to 5 places today. I want to do this kind of activity, eat this kind of food, eat this kind of activity, this food. Give me another recommendation of something that is different from those. And then give me, I want to be at each place recommend how long I should be at each place. And then what order should I go in? So I'm not just eating back to back and doing activities back to back, and I'm not driving back and forth across town. And so when I did that, I'm like, oh yeah, we could use this for a tour as well, and we're just putting a few dates in there, and so when I was doing it through the prompts, it gets lost after a while, and it gets on these things like you were talking about. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that in the background. You're like, oh, what, you don't do it, then you're gone. Like all the work you've done is dead at that point because it's lost and confused. Just like a real person. I mean, it's especially in our business, it's just like that person I was working with. But what I found out is if I loaded that information into a bot, it would be more, you could replicate it more and you could tweak it and stuff. So then I could go in there going, hey, I know this restaurant was in the data, take it out, replace it with this. And I could do it from my phone now, not in front of my computer where I made the thing to begin with. So I did the same thing for touring, and we could change spots, or we could recommend a couple spots. Okay, we're driving from San Antonio to Austin after the show overnight to go to this hotel that's by the airport, and it would know what was open and wasn't open, and make some recommendations, and then I could tweak it on the fly. And that wasn't 100%; it wasn't perfect. But the other thing I ended up doing is I was doing an interview with Steve Skinny from Mushroom Head. It's a rock band. And I had like ideas, and I knew a bunch of stuff about him I want to talk to him about, so I threw that in the chat GPT. So when I could do the interview with him, I was going to be sitting in the hotel lobby doing it. I could pull it up on my phone and just read through it. And then I was waiting for him to join, and I'm like, what is something I don't have on this list that he and I could really relate to? And I didn't say me, I said my band, Spank the Nun, and his band Mushroom Head. And he's like, he made Mushroom Head with his brother. You made Spank the Nun with your brother. You guys should talk about that. And I'm like, damn, that was right. And that's the thing that we were talking offline, not in the official interview, afterwards, because it was able to come up with that thing that helped connect us. So I thought that was pretty cool. Didn't expect that to even generate anything useful.
Thank you. Razi, go.
One of the things that I forgot to mention off the bat is I had come off also a really good success using it to route a desert road trip for photography and primitive camping. And it came up with um, a better route than I had planned with some of the same things, even without telling it. So I wasn't far. One of the things that I found for Eric, as you say, when it loses track and gets into a state where it's not answering the topic anymore, they've added somewhat recently the concept of projects where you can store things, at least in the sidebar hierarchically, related chats. So you can fork off things and still have them contain the same history and memories. Also, making sure that you say, hey, can you open that in Canvas, so that there's a persistent document version of it that doesn't get lost. And now you're working on that directly, and then maybe fork off a new conversation within the same project. So the stuff's getting kind of sophisticated from a project management standpoint. And the other aspect of I think part of the appeal and what sort of bred its own and interest for me to stick with it, encouraged me, was it's it names these things. It gives you memorable ideas. It was talking about like a indie Rust Belt tour and photo safari. It comes up with phrases that are sort of out there in the public conversation anyway, and brings them into your conversation so that they're memorable, and it makes it so that there's something to like latch onto. And also it really blows smoke up your ass. It's very enthusiastic, and if you're at all susceptible to momentum, it don't know about yours, but mine started doing a lot of hell yeah, that sounds terrific at the beginnings of things. And I don't think of myself as somebody who could be swayed by that, but honestly, it's carries a little bit of current. So I appreciate it.
Okay.
What it knows about me.
I'm going to set you guys a task, and that is I want you to ask it for promoters. I'm going to tour from Austin to Los Angeles. You are going to ask it for, and it's goth industrial. You're going to ask it for venues, promoters, and contacts. Find out if you can get that, because I can't get, I think it's not being open about personal information and stuff, at least the ones I'm looking at. And I don't pay for one, I just use fucking Bing Deep Thinker.
Yeah. Where were the cities that you said? Austin?
Let's say Austin, and that would probably go through New Mexico, Tucson, Austin, Tucson, Phoenix, LA. And find out, yes, asking for a friend. Find out find out what information you can get and what nights the tours that the gigs are on. So you're looking for promoters. You know where I'm going with this, right? Then while you're there, find out radio stations, if any, that are in that area that might want to promote you, and the best way to hit them. This is very exciting because we're watching people on the screen right now. I want to know, did you get any luck?
Nights are specific, dates are specific, names of the venues are specific so far.
Hold on, when you say specific, what does that mean?
Which night and which venue.
So it's actually, all right, so it's telling you these venues are on these nights.
Yeah. TBD, because I didn't put in a start date, but I have not seen any personal contact info. My next step is to add links to the promoter's website and or page, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is DOS Bunker mailing list for Los Angeles, Bar Sinister, just a link to the website, but it's saying what the best nights are. So like Bar Sinister's best on Saturday, DOS Bunker's best on a Friday. Knuckleheads does stuff every once in a while. Best to contact them through Instagram. Local radio is Isolation Radio in LA and Dark Wave Radio. LA Goth Facebook group. Those are all.
So hold on. So I thank you very much. This is great. So I want to, what my real question here is, how much tour planning can you do? I mean, ultimately, you get a booker for this shit because piece of advice, don't fucking book a tour yourself. But my question is, if you needed to do a short stint, could you?
So far, yeah. Again, this is just one step. I haven't checked it, but in response to that last thing, I just said, okay, now add the promoters' pages and emails and phone numbers, and it came up with what could be a valid list, including phone numbers and
It's
websites.
got phone numbers.
Yeah.
Wow. Are they is that, for example, Bar Sinister phone number, or is that for
First
the
one
actual
off
promoter?
the top, Austin, Texas, Elysium nightclub, and then
No. So yeah,
phone
my
number
question
and
is,
email address.
can you go to promoters?
Well,
Because no, that's difference between club, promoter.
yeah. The
So
actual booking agent. The booking email, Sinistrous Talent Booking, and
All right, let me rephrase the question.
do you want to know who's doing the party, whose night it is?
Yeah.
Like
It
who's
says
the actual
like
party promoter? Yeah, I can
Quixotic,
word it that way.
Quixotic, Eric Sachs at quixoticworld.com. This night's the ones to play. Here's the club that's at this place.
Okay, that's great.
I think it's your work cut out for you now. I don't think it solves it, but it'll at least give you for me, having that table with wrong information is a huge jump from having no
Right.
table at all.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'd even have some links to like social medias for different ones, like Dallas, it lists the 2 independent radio stations. So I can ask it for more contact on that. And sometimes you got to ask it 2 or 3 times. And then you have to put this into like a bot at some point because it'll start losing track of all this information. But like Raz said, it's a really good start. To
Great.
and I could help you with all those Dallas ones anyway.
All right, that's really interesting because like that's, and also when you're saying I want to send my CD or my whatever to people to review it, which is an problem I'm having with Ice Planet 9000 right now, is I don't have that contact. I have podcasters, but I don't have reviewers. And thank you, Jen. But my question is, it's leading towards how do we utilize an AI to do this? Hold on, Rezi. Yeah, so that's my thing, is that like, could you be using it to say, hey, here's a bunch of people you might want to reach out to for getting publicity or for getting reviews, stuff like that. Also, sending my CD to get played or my MP3s to get played on their podcast radio show, Rezi, your hand.
2 things came to mind. One, Eric, once you've come up with that list and it actually looks like something, tell it to add that to Canvas and it'll keep it off to the side in the editable document and it won't forget about it. And also then you can move to a new document.
I posted a snippet here when you how to mail CD to these things, and this is kind of information it's given.
I should open chat now that it's gone.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you copy and paste that onto an email and send it to me?
Yeah. So how do I put this into Canvas, Raz?
You can ask it to open that in Canvas. If it doesn't have a little pencil next to it, if it has a pencil, you can just click that.
Okay.
It'll be in that little icon group.
Oh,
it may or may not do it.
In Canvas, I see. Okay. Yeah. I'll
and then the second thing that came to mind as we're talking about this is we are in a group of people who have separate geographic locations, contacts, and social connections. And we could also talk about this to each other and probably have achieved a ton more than if we were spending it talking to Chatty G.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
That's
but
not
that's a very relevant point as well. That's why we have community, and I thank you for that point. It's very relevant. But getting you know that iron curtain that is so closely guarded that you can't get through because you want to get your music played in that club or you want to get reviewed on that or da 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 da. You know those clicks. I was just thinking this could possibly be some way of throwing something at that wall and maybe getting through, but ultimately it's going to be gate kept anyway. And Eric, send me that because then I'm going to send you something back, by the way. Yeah, so this is a really interesting conversation. And what's fantastic about this is, holy shit, it's come a long way in the last 3 months. Really fascinating. Because yeah, Eric, go.
So, little bit on topic, but off topic. I was just thinking of you and May, because they had the new track that just came out like a week or two ago. Congratulations on that. I love it.
Thank you.
I wanted to do a track with May ever since we were on one of these radio stations, which is actually the info that just came up when I put it in the chat. And I keep meaning to send something over to them, and I haven't done it. But I did my own voice, and I ran it through an AI online tool to have like that more May sound to it. Like, it's like, and so I can send it over as a guide track. And that's what I'm going to send that to you, to both of you, and kind of show you what I'm like, how I'm using it to come up with a guide track in my mind as like a starting point, instead of just sending music over and saying, go for it,
That's awesome. So you want May on a track?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, May is one hell of a songwriter. And oh my God, we're just finishing this side blurb. There's a track on this new album called Rose of Jericho, which is one of the best songs I have worked on in a fucking long time. And it's so good. And the album is, that bitch has got talent, let me tell you. But it's awesome you want them on that. It's so good. Thank you.
I'll send you something for you too, and see if you guys want to include that or do something with it, or if we want to do a collab together.
Yeah, well, May can do all their own vocals and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So you just send it to the Mayinator. But hey, thank you for including me. Because May terrifyingly rocks. Thank you.
True.
Because I'm also thinking, like, if there's a drag artist, or back to the AI thing, if there's a drag artist or something like that that's looking to try and get other shows and other gigs and stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, every time I say the word gig, I just kind of have this moment.
You know how much work it is.
Oh my fucking God. Look, man, I was bitching about, the Ice Planet 9000 gigs, they were all played live. Everything was live. It wasn't just tracks on a laptop, turn up and yell at people. It was like, learn the parts, set it all up, do the mix, so everything is there. So I think it threw Ice Planet 9000 back maybe 6 months. It threw the whole schedule back. And that's why the Angelspit album is now being delayed, because I was looking at it going, I spent so much fucking time on this. And great experience. I learned a lot. Yeah, it was fun. But I'm constantly going, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want this to turn into Carl fucking freaking out about the live scene, because God damn it. Hey, do we want to, can somebody also please find Diana, because she said Chatty G? That now carries a fine. Oh, and Rizzy laughed at it. Oh, wow. Oh, look at you guys. Oh, wow, you are so bagging me out. Sending out a lot of letters this week. What was I saying? Did we want to keep talking about this, or do we want to ping over to KaosPad? Because I actually do like talking about the potential of AIs and becoming the manager / that everyone fucking needs.
With any luck, I'll have some developing stuff for next week, because I do plan to be using this. So if his Zoom wasn't fighting it so bad, you'd see that Eric is showing us a phone-based KaosPad type thing.
All right.
There it is.
Okay. What I'll throw out about the KaosPad is it's shit. It's using crappy 16-bit 90s fucking technology. And holy shit, it's good. The thing about the modern KaosPads that I've heard is that they are nowhere near as glitchy. Like the original, like if you want something that's beautiful and smooth, don't get a KaosPad. But if you want dirty, fucked up shit, get a KaosPad. Just before I do, controller 12 and controller 13 will tell is the XY pad. So you can control the XY pad with MIDI controllers. It also MIDI syncs and does all that fun stuff. And and as you go from one thing to the other, like if you've got a delay time or something or a reverb time, you hear it going, and judging by the smile that just turned up on your face, Eric, that is exactly what you fucking want. And I've got, every time I use it, it just, excuse me, it is the sound of Headhunter Front 242 when you start real time changing those, the length of the reverb and the wet dry mix and the pre-delays and all of that shit. Fucking great. There's not a lot of programming you can do on the thing, but it's, I highly recommend you get one. They're so fucking good. And there's also a visual version as well. And there's a DJ version, and there's also a version that's it mixes visuals. So you put a coax, the old RCA video inputs in, and it spits out fuckified visuals. Good fun. Eric, what are you thinking?
Man, it's funny because I was just thinking before you said that, us kind of going through this AI brainstorm reminded me of when we were going through the Twitch brainstorm in March 2019. Remember that? Like, how do we get online? How do we do these visuals live? And I remember, I think it was Mike that had something like that he was using for the visuals. And I remember that whole routing it through all these different places, and so everybody could do their thing. That was fun. Reminded me of that. Yeah, the chaos thing. That crunchy 8-bit, 16-bit, just overloaded thing. I was going through some old tracks, and I released a couple of them. They're very like, hey, when we thought we were just another version of cheap version of Skinny Puppy, we're like the 99-cent store version of Skinny Puppy when we first started trying to make music, or Ministry or something, and we were doing that through like an EPS 16 and a Sonic EPS 16, and had these two buttons over here on the left that would just like randomize. It wasn't supposed to randomize, but it overloaded it. If every single track was full of something, it didn't have another track that it needed for the memory. So you would get this weird glitchy on time like percussion. And it was just like, of course, I had to go load it now into my DAW now to go get some high end. It's missing like all the high end. It's missing all the low end. It's all just like right there between like 200 and 5,000 or something, so it's missing all the frequencies you need to sound updated. But that's the best part of it, and you just keep that as a loop. And so I'm starting to put those out on SoundCloud just kind of getting a couple, doing some quick, add some more frequencies here and there. And it's finding these like disgusting, and not in a good way sometimes, low end pieces where it's translating all that crunchiness into this low end that, man, you got a good subwoofer, you're not going to want to hear this. But so I got to go tame these things with compression and stuff and doing a little more work than I thought. But if I try to remake that same track, it's just not the same, because that overloaded crunchiness, that 16-bit vibe is what made that sound work.
Also, even what you just said about I have to go back and tame it with compression and stuff, like that's the other thing, is that when you were young, you had no fucking idea about compression, and you had no idea about EQ, and you had no idea about all of this shit, and you end up creating this stuff. And the more you learn, it's the great, dichotomy of punk, is that the more you learn, the better you get, the more plaid you get. And I've heard so many artists talk about that, how it's the mix between production and punk, raw energy and production or demo. And there's every single step you take down the line of mixing and producing it, it's a step away from that, that grit. And you've got to decide where that is. Eric, I hope you're still there. I just lost your face. Razi, go.
Just to take it back a step, pretend you're talking to somebody who's never owned or actually used KaosPad. What is the main appeal of this device?
Okay, so the KaosPad was a mix of, thanks Eric, a mix between Brian Eno and the Korg Corporation, where Brian Eno had this concept of, I want to do something fucking weird, which is an effects machine that is, it's got a touchpad on it that's an XY axis. So you stick your finger on it and you move your finger around. And another thing you have to be careful of is make sure that that fucking pad still works. And if the pad doesn't still work, you can still talk to the thing via MIDI. I digress. And it had reverbs, bit crushes, distortions, delays, choruses, flanges, a whole bunch of kind of typical things, plus a vocoder. And drums and loops and shit. And this is late 90s technology. I should find out when they came out because I don't know. Funny, Ivan's not here. As soon as we get into gear acquisition, like, where's Ivan? And it was revolutionary because you could get in there and real time, not just fuck with the synth like I'm playing with the notes and the frequency and the filter. Now you could go in and you could say, well, this finger is going to be the delay time, and this one is going to be the wet dry mix of a reverb, or a reverb time, reverb, wet dry, or this one, and all of these different things that you could do to create this really fucking interesting, really interesting effects. And the thing about a Chaos Pad is that when you hear a Chaos Pad, it's like, that's a Chaos Pad. And I sort of had to stop using it for a while because everything became so Chaos Paddy. But then the trick is you don't do it on your drums or your guitars anymore. You put it on your vocal and you will get instant. Yeah, I think when people hear a Chaos Pad, they're going to go, that's fucking angelspit right there. But they're great. They're really good. How much when were they produced? Yeah, and there are DIY kits. See, this is the thing about them, is that the old version is super shitty. Like, it's crap. It's old technology, it's old processing, old everything, so it's glitchy. But there's something fantastic about that glitch. And, you know, the thing I always go back to is that when you fuck with a reverb, an old reverb in real time, you hear it go, it sounds like you changed the gears badly on a truck. And the new ones don't do that because they're anti-alias and they make everything super smooth. And that's the thing, is that if you want something super smooth, don't get a Chaos Pad. But if you want to sound like fucking 1998, what year did the Chaos Pad come out? Get a Chaos Pad. Hold on. I'll ask my AI. Year did...
I want to say 93. 90, 94.
Was it really?
I'm just taking a stab here.
99.
99.
No, it's all right. It's all basically the same. I'm pretty sure it's 16-bit, 44.1. There you go. They're fucking great. And they're also really great live, but they do like to feed back, but that's just bullshit. Anyway, so yeah, go the Chaos Pad. It's such a great thing. And, you know, there's now Chaosilators. Adam's mentioning he's got a Chaosilator. Taylor, welcome. Oh, look. Mini Chaos Pads, all sorts of things. Really fun things. Really, really fun things. And it also really opened up, you know, thanks Brian Eno, it opened up so much possibility of, you know, other bits of crazy shit you could be doing. Anyway, there you go.
I have a huge lack of Korg around me. I'm looking. I have a wave drum. That's it.
I've got a lack of Korg. I don't have any. The only Korg I have here is Chaos Pad. Yamaha owns 49% of Korg.
Fun fact.
Yeah. Maybe that changed, but it used to be 49% of Korg. So it is Yamaha? Yeah, it's Yamaha. Yeah, I don't have any Korg either. Oh, actually, Alex did a thing about the Wave Station. I used to have an AD. Fucking beautiful synthesizer, but you couldn't program them. Fuck them. Anyway.
I would take a Poly 6 and an MS-20, though. So if anybody needs to get rid of either of those, please.
Yeah. Ditto. Or what was the big one they had? Trident. Was it a Korg? No, not the Trident. No, not fuck the Trident.
Older one that
Yeah.
it was still
Alex,
a Trident, but it wasn't the Trident that you're thinking of.
Yeah, I got a
Alex
friend
Ball did a piece on it recently.
Connor in Chicago's got a has got a fucking thing, and there's a whole bunch of different versions of KaosPad as well. Thank you very much, Taylor. Get the KaosPad Mark III, the black one. I don't even know if they did more. We can keep talking about this, or I would like to bring up something that sort of got mentioned before about musical styles and musical people who influence you musically. I'm going to go there. How do your musical influences influence you? And let's break this down. Is it the mood? Is it the use of synthesizers? Is it the sound? Is it the selection of notes? Is it the lyrics? And go on a rant. I want to hear you rant. Go, Eric, go.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like taking it from this angle too, because this is one of those things where it turns into gatekeeping sometimes. Like, oh, I heard this band back then, did you hear their new song? Well, 20 years ago they were this, or that's not a new song that came out in the 90s. And then you're kind of like you're just squashing any of their excitement and energy about that music. And it's the same thing that influenced you to do what you're doing and what you like today. And maybe even the new band you like today is because you're influenced by that old band. But yeah, the music wise is like I found this instrumental track that we had done from a long time ago, and we were heavily influenced at the beginning by, a combination of Joy Division, Love and Rockets, Skinny Puppy Ministry, and it was just like all kind of that dark genres that kind of combining. But then you start to realize when you dig into Love and Rockets that like, oh, that's like, there's a lot of Beatles stuff in that. So am I really influenced by the things that they're influenced and what I'm getting influenced by? Or there's a lot of jazz saxophone in all those bands, like hidden around in samples and stuff like that. And it made me think about, because we were starting to mess with that again lately, kind of reworking that, and even taking these jazz loops or jazz samples and then reworking them through these different tools to manipulate them in the DAW and just see what you can get out of them. And when I was going back and listening to tracks, often we'd be making even an instrumental track and then go, oh, this sounds just like Isle of Man from Ministry or something like this. And we go, okay, let's throw those lyrics on top of it. Is this a cover song or is now inspired by? And you kind of blur that line. But the inspiration, like, before, got all the books around here. We talked about having books as influential, stuff like the Meta Barons and things like that. And having Giger for art and inspiration, even looking at Giger stuff to kind of influence the themes and nuances in the music. But yeah, definitely like different genres of certain bands to me are like, I'm really lock into. Like I still go back to certain Ministry, like early, not the Revenge stuff, but like the late 80s stuff and early 90s stuff as inspirational. And then some Skinny Puppy here and then Skinny Puppy here, front line over here. But then it's that weird timing of a jazz song that gets you, and you start to like realize they're doing that in some of the music that I like, that, or even working on a song just because you're influenced by the sound or a loop or something. It makes you think of a whole new idea, kind of generate an idea out of that. It can come in so many forms. But I often find that I get influenced from a way that gets me in that creative flow and in that writing mindset. It almost always happens in the car when I'm not expecting it and I can't do anything about it. And I'm trying to figure out how to capture that idea real quick on the phone. And I feel like my brain is just effing with me all the time, on this stuff, but it's now I got to capture that. But if I'm sitting here ready to write and I want to try to find some influences, I'll create like a playlist of stuff while I'm out running around and go back and listen to it later. And it almost never hits me the same way when I'm sitting here going, okay, motivate me. It's just like so many angles on this. You definitely can go so many ways with this.
Okay, Bert, I see your hand. Hold on a minute. So I want to just pull this back. And so the question is, and this is, listening to you talk, it's such an interesting question, is what is actually influencing you? What is inspiring you? Is it their choice of notes?
Oh.
Is it the distortion? Is it the hair? Is it the, and then you threw Geiger in there.
Mm-hmm.
So what is actually suggesting the music itself or the lyrics or the production to you?
Yeah, I think it's the mood is the thing that's most like across all of those. But often it's like there's even this like pop song like a G6, like a G6. It has like this like synth chorus in there, and that influence or Satisfaction by Benny Benassi, you know, just that grinding like, you know, bass line. It's always those always get me. It's like those dark, edgy little bass lines. It could be from any genre. And in fact, when it's in a genre I don't expect it to be in, it influences me even more. I'm like, oh, I can do so much with that.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Brett, what are your thoughts?
For me, it reflects a lot of what Eric was saying there. It's about that attitude. It's about the mood, whatnot of it. And I'll give you examples. It's like if I will pick music to listen to based on the mood I'm already in. You know, throughout the day. You know, so if I'm working and I need, you know, for example, I need to stay calm. You know, I'm over there in the ambient, you know, or I'm over with orbital, you know, doing, you know, jamming to something that's got a good beat, a good clock to it, but I'm not having to sit there and pay attention to lyrics. You know, I'm not wanting to sing along. I'm using this as a tool to clock my brain. Where it comes to things that inspire me, those are, you know, those are partly influenced. Well, they're very much influenced by what I'm bringing to it in either case. So if I'm writing music, you know, obviously I'm trying to do something kind of scary or something kind of dark. So I would say, you know, one of the earliest influences there was Stephen King, and it was about, you know, the things that drove me there was how he talked about his characters, how he developed them, how they became, you know, this, you know, an idea becomes, you know, something that you can take from A to Z. Where it comes to like you, for example, dude, you're great driving music. You're also, it's like the stuff you write there. Man, if I need to get my brain clocked up, time to get down and dirty, get busy. Yeah, throw on some angelspit, throw on some cyberpunk, throw on some hell, Slayer fits in there. You know, all these things are, you know, end up becoming like kind of like tools. And ultimately, the thing that inspires me to write my own stuff is what I kind of take away from all those experiences with a heavy dose of my own jadedness.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brett. This is really, there's another question coming, but we'll get to that. Razi, talk to me.
I would say the exact same thing that you said to prompt the question. I mean, sure, there's vibe and what kind of guitar they had and what color hair. All of that is, you know, little elements that pop out and say, I want to do that. But I took notes as we were all talking about it. And I think there's like 3 life phases where influences had a different sort of scope to them. And as a kid, it was things that grabbed me that I didn't know how they were done. I didn't know how that was committed to tape. I didn't know how that song was crafted, and I wanted to know. And then moving on toward, once I understood some of those things, it was finding sounds and songs and bands and scenes that reflected and maybe magnified what I was starting to feel as my own personality. So mood matching and validation. And then now I find, somewhat more rarely, but stuff that seems to push the boundaries of those other things. You know, like I've established what I listen to, and I've established a lot of understanding about how these things are done. So there's an element of novelty and innovation that I sort of grasp onto. And I know those are vague and non-specific, but it could be, as everybody has echoed so far, a specific lick, chord progression, a recording technique, a topic in the lyrics, a way that the lyrics are put together. There's just such a breadth of ones that it almost defies listing it out.
This is very good. I'm liking this. I'm going to put my hand up because I want to shoot my mouth off after Eric. Thank you very much, Rezi. Eric, what are your thoughts?
It's like this. I can't believe this is gonna sound like same shameless self promotion, but there's no shameless. This is self promotion. We just actually released a song called Head and Body, and it's a classic EBM track, and we did it in German because the full words are head, body, knees, and toes, because we're heavily influenced by kids songs all the time, and like those songs seems to translate. I was working on another remix for this song called Bands on Me, and it's to the same tune as would a woodchuck chuck wood. If a woodchuck could chuck wood, what would a woodchuck chuck? But it's like, if you had stacks of bands, would you land your bands on me with the stacks on stacks on stacks to get your hands on me? So a lot of times it's those kids little like repetitious like songs and stuff, or these old nursery rhymes that I often find is a great way to come up with a hook or a fun way to do it.
That's good. And also the good thing about German is you can say anything like 1, 2, 3, 4 brothers come and dance with me. But if you say that in German, it sounds really tough.
Head, knees, and toes is quote uncorpora D insane, and you're like head, knees, and toes. That but it sounded cool.
That's great. I know that's brilliant. So I'm gonna flip back to another thing. Is there a risk? My first question is, Jen mentioned tarot, and that's great. My question is, why don't we call it the long root? Why isn't that called a carrow instead of a carrot? Anyway, is there a risk? There's a reason I brought that up. I'll get to it. Is there a risk that something is depleting your ability to be inspired? Because this is something that I'm teetering around the edge of, is that, is it frustration? Is it overstimulation? Is it whatever? Is it the lack of human experience and human interchange? Because if you really want to get inspired, talk to someone you've never talked to before about some fucking topic and you'll get very fucking inspired. Human interaction. It's, and that sort of also ties into the whole idea of, I was saying, when it comes time to making art, usually it's the end of the day or when you've done all your other stuff. So you're giving your art your crumbs. And increasingly, we're moving into a period, this is important, where your creation of art has become really fucking important. It doesn't matter who's listening, doesn't fucking matter. The fact is that you are allowing your brain to output all of the garbage that is going into it. That's what art is doing. And it's very important that you give yourself good time to do that. Maybe get up earlier so you can spend time on your art in the morning or something. This is super important. Because it comes back to the thing of like, when you're exhausted and you've just done a 12-hour day or whatever, and then you have to make your art, because if you don't, it's not going to get done. What do? My solution is sweep the floor, play with Frank, go outside if you can. But the other thing is there something in your life that is depleting your ability to be inspired? Because something I'm noticing is that I tend to gravitate towards the same music, and certain playlists that I listen to online that are AI generated keep throwing me the same tracks. And that's the joy that I used to get in creating or finishing a song, like when I used to finish a song, almost pre-COVID actually, it was the greatest drug in the world. The greatest drug I've ever fucking experienced was finishing a song knowing, bam, I got it. Not like that anymore. Now it's this, okay, next feeling. And it's also that when a song wasn't working, it was a devastating low to me. Now when a song doesn't work, it's a slightly painful annoyance. And it's really interesting that I see a lot of this around about 2000s, which I'm not fucking blaming COVID, but something inside me has changed. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I do to go back to re-inspire that? Because the go-to is, I'm going to watch a video now about making music, or I'm going to, which becomes death scrolling on aliens and gear, as opposed to actually making fucking music. I hope you understand this very question that I'm badly. Maybe I should put this in an AI saying, how could I ask this question better? Or I could just say, Razi, what do you think?
Well, you're onto something in that last part, because I don't exactly have the answer that you're looking for. I think there's maybe with a little bit more conversation, we'll sort of, home in on a solution, or the best solution for you. But if I could just step back to reframe a little bit, I think this is related. I really like your whole idea about prioritizing your schedule to put music and creativity at the top of it, and letting the other crap sweep up the crumbs, and not having it be the end of the day thing, like, oh, I'm too tired, I guess I'm not going to write a riff. I think that's great. Like, every time you mention it over the past years that I've known you, I think, like, yeah, I'll fucking seize the day, get up in the morning, do this. I could really do that. But the course of my day feels really incompatible with it. I've never been able to make it happen. So I just wanted to ask Carl specifically, what does it feel like to get into music in the morning? What does it feel like to be you and get up and do this stuff? How does that work?
Thank you for asking that question. It feels fucking awful. It feels like, I've said this so often, is that if you're serious about your fucking kung fu, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you train, and you do push-ups on your knuckles. The thing about everything in the world, kung fu, accounting, so much other shit, is that there's steps that you take in order to train to become better. Sure, in music you can do scales and stuff, but you are being presented with a problem that doesn't have a correct answer, doesn't have an incorrect answer as well. It has a pleasing answer. Isn't that fucking weird? In this, that we've become so fact orientated. I need the truth, I need the facts. Well, in music, sure, there's theory, but the answer, the correct note that is going to be correct is, it's not, probably isn't mathematically correct. It's what feels good. That's your taste. And the difficult thing about your taste is that you need all of this strength, confidence to fucking make that happen. Because if you're too busy comparing yourself to Skinny Puppy and blah, 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 and whoever's fucking being played in the goth club, who gives a shit right now, you're not going to get it done, because you're not good enough and you're not the same. That's what's so incredibly difficult. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting back to the look, okay, so I get up at 5. By the time I actually sit down, it's about 5:30, because I've got to get caffeinated. Although I try not to drink coffee first thing, I try and drink a fuckload of water. I got to play with Frank a bit, because if I don't, heaven help us all. That's the great thing about having a cat. Then I can sit down and do it. My brain works really well in the morning. Like, I'm good at problem solving. I'm good at getting all those airy-fairy ideas and actually putting them into little boxes, then putting the boxes together. I can think clearly, and I can make decisions much, much, much more effectively. And I actually think that my brain and the purity and the strength of the clarity that I get in the morning is wasted on anything else. it must be for making music. Because customer support, doing merch, doing admin, doing all of this stupid, benign, boring shit, which is 80% of the fucking job. It used to be 50% of the job, now it's 80% of the job. I can do that when I'm at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I go, I can't do this shit anymore. I just go through my to-do list and go point, point, point. That's what it's like. It's really fucking hard, but it's focusing. And as I'm coming into the summer, because LA gets really fucking hot, it's better to do this shit in the morning because the gear, I don't like having the gear on when it's fucking 100 degrees. I didn't answer your question. It sucks.
I mean, yeah, you did. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to sleep in. I'm lucky that naturally I get up early. For me, sleeping is 7 o'clock. So that's when my power time is. And it's really important. I think that, you know, so many artists go, oh, I'm not going to do it unless I'm inspired. Blah, 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 blah. No, you can't do that. In fact, I heard this so fucking well, is that if you choose to do this as a profession or seriously, it's not a hobby, because hobbies are fun. If you want to do this seriously, it's not fun. If you want to do an album, it's not fun. You're doing an album because you are dedicated to the work practices and you know how fucking hard it is and you want to fucking do it. So there's so much onus and importance is put on inspiration. 1,000 times I fucking say to you, that's 1% of it, man. If even that. The other is, like, you could do a mix, half a mix you could do with the monitors off and not wearing headphones, because you know you're going to be high passing that, pulling out 400 on that, adding some tops. You fucking know it. That's maths. That's process. That's doing push-ups on your fucking knuckles. That's training. There is a definitive answer to that shit. But when it comes to what note am I playing, and it's always fucking comes back to Beethoven's fucking seventh. Like, dum, 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 dum. And if I do any further, I'll start crying. If you've heard the seventh, someone find me a YouTube so I can stick it in there. It's the most incredible piece of music ever, because I don't think there's a whole bunch of bad decisions in there. Like, dude, what are you fucking doing? This is boring as shit. But when it comes together, something magic happens. Anyway, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning is not like that. Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning is screaming at yourself, screaming at your computer, going, I fucking hate this. It doesn't work. Butter, 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 butter. Shit, shit, shit. Hate, hate, hate. Angry, angry, angry. Push fucking through it. And the thing about me, I've mentioned this before, Super Tablespoon, welcome, is that I will get between 5-ish and 8-ish. In that 3 hours, I'll actually get 6 hours worth of stuff done, because I am on it, and I'm fucking on it. Did that answer the question? Yeah.
It even gave me some ideas about, how to reprioritize some of my days. I just, by contrast, by not contrast, my same attitude toward, like, the inspiration is bullshit. I mean, it's great when you can find it, but you have to put in the work and you have to slog through it and you have to do the uncomfortable stuff to get to that epiphany, that great feeling of frisson where you've achieved something. It's not the other way around. If you sit around waiting for that to happen, you will never get anything done. With you on that, it's maybe I don't have to do my morning client email checklist first thing to get oriented. Maybe I can step in here and do something creative once in a while.
Yeah.
Start feeling it out.
And, really think about this as well. Eric, I see your hand. I'm sorry, I'm prattling. Think about when your brain is at its best. So fuck the corporations. Give that to your art. And if shit doesn't have an X, Y, and Z, then, sure, give Caesar what is due to Caesar. Do the job, do the hours that you have to do. But if your brain is like sharp as a fucking tack, or your brain suddenly goes, you know what, I want to make music, make fucking music. But and here's a trick: if you don't want to make music, I'm going to sweep the floor, then I'm going to make a coffee, and then I'm going to make music. Sweeping the floor, going, after this, I'm going to make a coffee and I'm going to make music. Then Make your coffee, Rezi. Like that. That's how you make coffee. Push
It's
down.
pour over. Yeah.
No, it's not. Fuck
None of
you.
that
It's not
fancy stuff
fucking
with the
pour.
press.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
just you
fancy
pour the
fucking
coffee.
press. You don't pour over. Push it down. Or use your fucking percolator. Your little
Fine.
espresso machine. Use your espresso machine. While you're doing that, I'm going to make music. And by the time you actually sit down, you've taken out half the pain because you're forcing yourself to make music. Just make sure the computer turns on and the synthesizers turn on, because the worst thing in the world is when you go, oh, I'm going to make this shit, and then suddenly your MIDI brain isn't working.
One of my tricks around that for my whole life that I've had an office to go to is that, yeah, the office has a guitar sitting on a stand in it always. It's just there. You know, every room, hopefully, where you end up finding yourself sitting doing something that's not music, there's also a guitar sitting in a stand to pick up and play. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you for asking that. If I may, throw it to the Ericinator.
You know, unfortunately, I'm like, okay, let me get someone to sweep the floor right here. Let me order someone to deliver me a coffee, and I'll watch TV, and then I'll get that, and then I'll go do the music. And then you never get off the couch because everyone's doing everything for you. I think a lot of times is we know how much time it takes to finish a song. How, you know, even if we start to get the idea, you know, we know we're sitting down for 20 plus hours to get this idea done. We know what we're signing up for. So, you know, getting in the morning, we've talked about this between the three of us before, and, you know, getting that first, soon as I wake up, my mind is not 100% awake, kind of lucid. That's real good creative time mode, and just start locking it in. I know I have to get through an idea before I head off to the 9 to 5, or else that thing's going to be rattling around and fucking with me all day. And I'm going to be thinking, can I cut out for lunch? Can I go back over there? Can I get out? Or how do I get these? But if I've gotten to this routine, then I get out of it. Like I got 90 minutes to 2 hours. I can just cut an idea, get it down, and then it's not going to roam around my head, and I'll finish it over the weekend or that night. So it's like and then also when I'm getting ready to go to sleep, as soon as I'm like, my head's got to hit the pillow now, just force myself to walk in and get in front of the, music stuff, start putting it together. And I will often not even remember what it is until a day or two later when I listen to it again. And that's some of the best stuff. Some of the simplest, most catchy stuff has come out of that. But often too, if I can knock out that 2 hours in the morning and, kind of walk away from that idea because I got to a good stopping point, I do better at the rest of the day. I do better where I'm more focused. I got that creative piece out of me. Now I can focus on the grind and the other things. But it's really that balance. And when you're talking about knowing yourself and knowing when you work the best and all that, it reminds me of the great late David Lynch, when he would talk about there's no such thing as writer's block. Writer's block is because you don't have the right environment, the right things around you. You don't have the right inspiration. He's like, you got to know yourself to always be, so you know what situation you put yourself into. But I also think there's another angle, and I kind of referred a little bit putting the phone up there, is that if you look at the last 50 years, when the radio, I mean, not the radio, radio too, but when the record labels, they would find a band that hits, then YouTube comes around and go, no, YouTube, there's no future in this YouTube band, because they don't sound like the last band that was just popular. So we're going to reject, every label's going to reject them. Every label's rejecting Nirvana. Every label's rejecting Smashing Pumpkins. And then when they come up to this little indie sub pop or something out of the corner, because they see the vision, then they go buy that company because they're like, oh, there is something different. Then they just want another Smashing Pumpkins. They just want another U2. I think that Spotify and streaming is exasperated that to the nth degree, where everything that goes in those playlists needs to sound like the same thing. It's not looking for things that are different. And I think that has an effect on us that we don't even realize, that is bombarding us all the time, going, I need to sound just like this. I got to be just like this. I got to be like, I'm not hearing different stuff in the playlist, because the playlists are made to be the same thing over and over. And even when we curate our own playlists, it'll make recommendations that are just like, okay, maybe that's a good idea, but it'll start just recommending the same stuff again at some point. And then finally, I think the other thing you made me think is that we were playing, we've been fortunate to play with some of our heroes, you know, some of our favorite bands, opening for them. And it'll get in our head, like, are we good enough to be on the same stage as these guys? Man, look at how well they write this song. Oh, we should do this different. We need to change how we do this. And all of a sudden we're not productive for like a month after that because we're overthinking it. And eventually we come back to, no, we got to do our thing, just be all in on our thing. And, you know, it'll evolve over time. But if we let it get into our head that, you know, we need to structure songs different, write them different, come from a different perspective, because this band does, or this band that we've loved or we love, you know, we're not being ourselves, and it just fucks with us and keeps us from moving forward.
I thank you for this. Rant. So, the most important thing you have as an artist is the culture of decisions that you make. If you go to this note or that note, or this chord or that chord, or this sound or that sort, or this kind of lyric, your taste in your music, that's what people actually like, your taste. And when you defer from that, you'll get 1 or 2 albums out of your career, maybe 3. If you don't defer from that, if you are true to yourself, which is why so many bands only last 2 or 3 albums, if you are true to yourself, you'll be getting over 10 albums. You'll make a career out of this, because other people are going to resonate with your style of experimentation, because everybody experiments a little differently, but the way you experiment, therefore you have to be true to that experiment. That's what people like. And you might only make a small amount of fans, but they'll be your fans forever. Therefore, over the period of your time, they will sustain you, whether that is by giving you encouragement, financial backing, or likes on fucking social media. But then you go a step above that, and you really question the importance. You can't become reliant on people going yeah to that. And that's what's really hard, is that you've got to be sure within yourself that what you are doing is for you. It is a part of the process of you making sense of the world. Because if you are true to that process, there will be other people who feel the same way. Mathematically, it has to happen. There you go. Also, I just want to say the importance of sweeping. Sweeping, now this is weird. Sweeping, I've been thinking about something Ivan said a while ago, is how sweeping is a magic ritual. A lot of magic has sweeping involved. Like there's something about clearing the space and then performing a ritual. Sweeping is a very physical thing because you're doing this. And it also, all right, that's great. Thank you, Eric. It's because you are up, walking, doing a different thing, and you are getting an immediate result. 3 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, the floor was dirty. Now there's a pile of dust, sweepy into the bin, the room feels different. So on so many different levels, sweeping's really important. And when I need to action or do something, or that I don't want to do, sweeping is usually involved. Yet another very fucking weird thing Carl talks about. Yeah, clutter, turning clutter into order. Thank you very much, Jen. That's right, sweeping is cool. Cool kids sweep. Sweeping like the cool kids. And every time I move to a house, the first thing I do is make sure I've got a fucking broom. Also, it's really interesting to think about algorithms, how algorithms are basically hyperhuman. That they're getting all decisions that people have already made, and they're going, well, here's a list of the decisions, and that includes an algorithm playlist on whatever streaming service, because people think it's popular. But also that starts to eat itself because you're hearing it more, because the algorithm's giving it to you more in your daily play mix. Because you've been listening to that song so often from other daily play mix that, you know. And that's my whole thing, is that like I am looking for a fucking phase, a big fucking fat bowed phase that will sound like Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen, 1976. And since I don't have $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever they are now, I have to try and find something else, because there was an atmosphere in Oxygen that I have been trying to get, my atmosphere in Oxygen, that was kind of a joke, that I've been trying to achieve my entire fucking life. And that's really interesting, that in doing so and constantly failing, I've found all of this other stuff. Don't know. Maybe I'm wanking there. Okay. Also, Jen brought up a really nice thing about tarot. If you can get a tarot reading, get a tarot reading. The really cool thing about tarot readings is you might put power in what they're saying, you might not. But your brain is interpreting cards on a table. You're also interacting with another person who has a skill set vastly different to yours, possibly. That's inspiring. But as soon as you see these cards on the table and your brain starts to imagine and starts coming up with problem-solving solutions to an abstract visual problem, that is by nature inspiring. And that is by nature kickstarting the parts of your mind that are needed to make your art. So that's always fun, even like runes and shit like that. I don't really have anything to else, because I've got a list of a whole... Oh, Eric, go.
I was just thinking, I just wrote this idea down. There's probably a way to create like that tarot reading style type thing with ideas for creating songs and stuff that create inspiration. I wrote it down because I'm going to see if I could work on something like that.
A fine idea. Because like Eno's Oblique Strategies, time for an Oblique Strategies reading, is exactly that. And if you get a whole bunch of fucking like lyrical ideas, put them on cards and then just put them out, it's time, guys. We're doing an Oblique Strategies reading. I'm now going through the cards. What I need you to say is stop. I'm going to put this onto screen view. Okay. I'm now going through the cards. I'm now shuffling the cards. When you say stop in the messages or on the chat here on the Zoom, I will stop shuffling, and the top card is your card. And if you're watching this on the in the chats, all you have to do is say stop. That's your cue for someone to fucking say stop right fucking now.
Stop.
Thank you, Razi. Razi, your card. Question the heroic approach. Question the heroic. Now I'm shuffling again. The next person to say stop. Brett says stop. Thank you, Brett. Hold on, I need to check the, wow, no one in the chat gives a shit about this. For Brett, the tape is now the music. The tape is now the music. Oh, that was good, right? Good for you. Okay, so, yes, it is neat, but the magic word is stop. You have to say stop. And no one's saying stop in the chat. I'm going. Eric doesn't give a shit right now.
I just wrote down, I'm making a song called The Tape Is Now the Music.
Well, that's Brett's idea, and if you steal it, that's plagiarism.
Tearing it. Interpolation.
Jen, there you go. Jen, your card is... Jen, you got a blank card. I didn't even know there was a blank card. No, there's no stop again. Hold on a minute. Tablespoon, I've got to go again, and then I will... Stop there. Super Tablespoon. Do something boring. Thank you, Brian Eno. Jen got a block. So stop again. Stop again, says Jen. Eric doesn't want to do this. Fascinating. Make a blank valuable by putting it in an exquisite frame. Make a blank valuable by putting it in an exquisite frame. Wow. So you could put down a drum beat and say it's a remix of 4 minutes 32. I'm shuffling. Wait. Hold on, what was that? Oh, look, you got one of mine. Thank you so much. Is that one of mine? Dude, thank you. Bless your heart.
My valuable and exquisite frame.
No, but it's a blank. But thank you. Oh, thank you so much for doing that. Rob says stop. Hold on. And stop for Rob. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Eric. Trust in the you of now. Rob, trust in the you of now. Rob says stop. Hold on, we're still doing the here are we going. What the fuck? Wow, Diana and Adam haven't asked me to stop either. Oh, those guys don't give a shit. Isn't that interesting?
Stop.
So I'm shuffling and I'm waiting.
Stop.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
Stop. Thank you.
About fucking time.
I was hanging your valuable between David J and Front 242 on the wall there.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. What would your closest friend do? My closest friend would lie on the bed and demand play. Maybe that's a good thing I should do. Okay, Diana says stop. Hold on, I hope I haven't forgotten. Diana, left channel, right channel, center channel. Left channel, right channel, center channel. You know, I think there's the other thing.
New EBM track.
There, Taylor, look closely at the most embarrassing details and amplify them. Look closely at the most embarrassing details and amplify them. If I could do a Taylor, if I've forgotten anyone, please let me know. Have I forgotten anyone? I didn't do one. Stop. Remove specifics and convert to ambiguities. Remove specifics and convert to ambiguities. Okay. If anybody else wants to, oh no, hold on. Taylor, I got you. Yeah, I forgot Carl. Where the fuck is Adam? Adam hasn't said stop. Okay, we'll take a go. No, Adam, you have to say stop. Because they're the rules. Somebody tell me on Twitch when Adam says stop. I'm sorry, am I boring you? Oh, I'm sorry.
He said stop.
Oh, thank you, Adam. I'm sorry, is Brian Eno boring you? Which is ironic. That's ironic. Think about that. Organic machinery, Adam. Organic machinery. I really wish I could do a Gandalf impersonation. Rob's reflection, I am habitually preparing for the future. Yes, trust for you now. That's great. If anybody else wants one, it's on the top of the pack. If I could do a Gandalf voice, I would read these to you as Gandalf, and it would be epic. It would be Gilgamesh epic. Frank wants, okay, thank you. Frank wants one. Get your neck massaged. I should massage his neck. He's been fantastic. He's not looking forward to summer. So that's it on the Josie. Josie gets one. Sorry, thank you.
Good point. She's going to appreciate that.
Courage. Courage for Josie. So there you go. There's a bit of random. And random is good fun. Did you notice that when I was doing this, maybe it was just me, but there's a higher function that I can feel in my mind. I can feel, I can feel energy and blood flow into a higher area of my brain. I'm aware of it. And I just felt it then, so thank you. Because the problem, it seems to be this tide that moves down in my mind, and this top part gets replaced with concrete. I was talking to somebody recently about, and thank you, Brent, for this wonderful gift and all the wonderful gifts that you give me, Brent. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were talking about how they love, blood play, and, in their show, there's a lot of blood and all that sort of thing. And I found myself getting queasy during the conversation. And I'm not sure if it's because of, the trauma that I have been through, or if it's because part of me is closing down. I used to be all about surgery shit. And it's like I have trouble talking about that stuff now. And that ties into what has happened in my process, of my neurological process. How has it changed over the last 5 years that has made it harder for me to conceptually think, dream, and to push the limits? Because we were talking about David Lynch before, Eric. You mentioned David Lynch. David Lynch's thing is, ideas of fish, and if you want to get the big fish, you got to go out deep. You got to have a big line. You've got to have a lot of courage, and it takes courage and risk. And I am increasingly questioning, the risk. And even when we were talking about live before, I can't handle that anymore. Although I don't think I've ever been able to handle live. Fucking hate it. I don't know. There is acceptable risk that I'm comfortable with, then there's terrifying risk that I just can't fucking do. Yeah, please.
One thing that comes to mind on that, if I can try to articulate this into something pithy, or at least a statement, your immediate experiences can really change your attitude about risk and what constitutes a risk and what even feels risky. Sometimes things get thrust upon you that change your tolerance for these things. Sometimes you choose to do things that you like to do that get you back into the swing of doing things. Sometimes you are reminded, by circumstances in life that this is something that you can manage. And sometimes you just spend enough time forgetting, not thinking about things as a challenge, that they slip back into being approachable. But there's a lot of ways to encourage and allow that attitude shift to come in and to recognize it and embrace it. And there's no answer in that, but it's just something that I kind of noticed in myself this past couple of weeks, where I got back out on the road. And I'm reminded of this every time I take a road trip of more than a few days, especially ones that feel like stop-to-stop tours where you're not landing in a city and staying to do vacation stuff, but you're just going around. And I like road trips like that. And it reminded me of, there's some work involved, but you can plan this stuff and fucking book some shows and do some stuff musically while you're at it and make it happen. And it was a shift that happened just by dint of going out and doing something else that was related. I don't know how that fits in with your situation, but it was a difference for me.
Yeah, it's about seeing something new, breathing different air, and maybe realizing that the world is actually much bigger than the tiny world that you're in. I always think about how if you post-nurse grenade concussion syndrome, thank you, I've had that for 20 years now. I'm always thinking that, like, this room, this apartment that I'm in, it's Frank's whole world. It's becoming my whole world. Because my reality is defined by this space. Yet, If you were in a helicopter flying overhead, you wouldn't even see this. It would merge into all of the other roofs of Los Angeles. And that perspective is also, and I'm also aware that, you know, how they say how everybody is the hero, the star of their own movie. I think about how those movies are increasingly becoming isolated, and they're becoming very consuming and very serious, as I know mine is. Anyway, I'm sorry, Eric. What do you think?
I think it goes back a little bit to you know, we're part of the algorithm now, right? So we're like having this like man, I gotta write that one down. We gotta, because we're getting just more and more like this is what your world is in the phone and TV and everywhere else. You know, at first TV went from 2 or 3 channels to like 100, 200 channels, and it opened the world and all these ideas and the internet, all the possibility. It felt like everything was bigger and bigger. And then now it's more like this insignificance. It's like so narrowed in on something that is artificial. It's not real. It's a version of something. You know, they're not showing all the other stuff that's going on in the reality of their own world and context. But one of the things I used to do is like I turn on these like ancient Egypt history shows on YouTube and kind of fall asleep to them, and you know, just kind of ASMR in the background. But I would do that with space ones and like universe one. It would show how insignificant we are in the scheme of things and how random we are. And if there was other civilizations that in the scheme of things, we're such a small little half a blink of a blink of a blink in the scheme of everything that's going on in the world. And the fact that the light we see from a star, that happened a million years ago before we even existed. The light we're seeing from another star, it was before the dinosaurs even lived and then went extinct. And that was 5 million years ago when they went extinct. The fact that we never even had humans at the same time as dinosaurs, you know, the fact that in the timeline of, you know, of the 100,000 years ago, humans appeared to now, technology is only, as we know, it's only existed for less than half a fragment of a second, all the way back to the Watchmen. Like we're 3 seconds away from midnight. You know, I had to stop turning that stuff off after a certain point at night because I don't like going to sleep with that stuff in my mind anymore because it just feels like despair, like the insignificance of what do we really play a whole part in this. You know, everything we do can be erased when you start just thinking of, it just takes 1, 2 volcanoes going off and everything's done in this planet and everything's starting over and just being recycled. It just is, it'll stress me out in a heartbeat getting into that, even thinking about it now, you know. But stuff we do need to think about in some context at some level.
Have you ever seen the original Carl Sagan 1980 Cosmos?
Billions and billions of humans. Yes,
When was the
sir.
last time you saw it?
Oh, it's been 10 plus years. Yeah,
Watch it again.
I will.
Not only the music, Vangelis, but it's also the genius of Carl Sagan. Like his genius up there with Tesla and Mozart, Sagan. And what he is saying in that is so, and it's incredible because so much of that is now inaccurate. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson, so much of that is now inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I digress. Thank you. Isn't it crazy how everything has become a simplified version of a simplified version? I don't know, it's wild. Hey, look, I'm going to change just ever so quickly. There's a new, I may have mentioned this before, a new kind of a social media thing called Darknet. And there's a link. Go make a, it's more in line with LiveJournal. And it's in its beginning stages. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're still putting together, but it's I think it could be something pretty cool, even if it's small. Could be something cool. Yeah, and this kind of all ties in really well with what the you know, what media, what everything is doing to your mind, and we lost Brett, and also your how you input output stuff, because I am concerned that the ability for the tenacity and the longevity required in writing an album, in making art, is disappearing. It's being crushed out and bred out of people. Because the thing about writing an album is, okay, so I'm working on a song today. You're not going to hear that song for 2 years. And I'm not going to get money or likes or whatever currency from that for 2 years. There's no instant gratification, unlike sweeping. It's just, and I'm not talking about future generations, etc., that it's being removed from. I'm talking about me. And I also suggest that you keep a diary for writing, and this is your own personal diary, so that you can refer to it. Because when it goes dark, when you enter a dark place, you need to know that it's probably normal. And it's probably because so often, your brain doesn't remember trauma very well. It sort of forgets it and doesn't want to think about it. So when you are writing and you are in that terrible dark place of this sucks, I suck, everything I've ever done is suck, and the best music I've ever done is behind me now and I'm finished. Sound familiar? You need to know that you've been there before. Dude, I was having a conversation. Yeah, thank you. I say embrace our insignificant in the infinite vastness of the void. It's humbling. Yes, absolutely. Frank says relax. Very good, Jen. That's very good. What was I saying? I was talking to someone at the opera recently. We did this fucking brilliant podcast, and I was talking to them about the process of writing music. And I think there's a lot of shame, if you say, I'm really struggling with this track, this is really hard to do, this is a difficult experience for me. There's shame in that, because that makes you look incompetent. And I was talking to this person about the reality of how fucking hard it is making music. Making music is very fucking hard. And if anybody says otherwise, they are lying to you. It's fucking hard. That's why not many people do it. And that's why when a new gadget comes along, they'll go, oh yeah, I'll get that gadget because it's going to make this process that is horrifyingly difficult easier. It is going to mechanize it. It's going to use an AI, look, fucking whatever. And they had no, they had no concept of where you go in your head to make music. What you need to learn is that that's normal. It's shitty and it's normal. And I think it's important because that's breeding a form of tenacity that I don't think anything else is going to give you. Eric.
It's funny. I was wondering, like you hear like these natural solutions for problems like depression and other things. And I wonder how much music has saved, that creative process have saved people from a lot of those things. And instead we prescribe medicine instead of that creativity and getting into that. And for some people it probably exasperates it, I would think. It's
I remember seeing Rick Springfield on some talk show dude once. And because Rick Springfield suffered really bad depression. And they showed this CAT scan of someone's mind, and they were saying how there was an area inside the mind that was dark, and that was common with people who had depression. And the host said, that's where the depression comes from. And Rick said, no, that's where the music comes from. And it was like, that was really interesting. It's the sort of thing that you can really think about. I stand absolutely by, like, hey, if you've got an issue, seek professional attention. If you've got the healthcare and you can afford it, or if you don't, which increasingly we don't, I have great music, and art makes you take the garbage and turn it into something beautiful, or helps you figure it the fuck out. or it makes you think that when you die, you're going to leave something behind. So yeah, I don't know if that matters. Eric, what is the 2 cents? You've got a 4 or 5 foot ruler. What are the 2 cents on the other side of that?
So the ruler is my daughter. I keep track of her height on the right side, and the younger one's on the left side. The cents is a FL key 49, and then an Novation base station, the Apex one. I actually have it over here on the left side of my screen. There's the Apex version of the base station, and then the Novation. It's really a Novation FL key studio controller that has sliders and stuff that work really well with FL Studio.
Good fun.
Yeah, I want one that has like an XY controller. They just don't have like, sub $5,000. I want a $400-$500 controller that also has a nice XY, like Chaos style thing that I could use, pad.
Studio Logic has some really good stuff. They don't have an XY controller, but they do have a joystick.
Okay.
And it's great fucking keyboard.
Cool.
And if you take it live, there's so much shit you can do on that thing. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I've been doing like my DJ controller sometimes even through the Chaos pad to get that cool live fuckery.
What Chaos pad do you have?
It's in the garage. It's like an old blocky one from like 12, 15 years ago. I don't remember the numbers and letters on it.
So you already have a Chaos pad.
Yeah.
Is it gray or black?
It's a black one. It's very bulky. It's
it looks industrial. Is everything, are the little LEDs, are they red or blue?
They're red.
You've got a KP3. You've got a KaosPad 3.
Okay. Yeah, my brother brought it over because he had it. And then when I was showing the one on my phone earlier, David J was using that K-oscillator live for a couple shows where he would put something through that, like a sample of a vocal or something or a thing, and he would play that live through the microphone, which was what made us start thinking about doing that. And like his music, you would never think you would do that.
Yeah, go get that Chaos pad out of the garage and set it up.
Yeah.
They might have a really quiet input output, I found.
Yeah, it was a weird thing with the inputs weren't the right ones, and I was having
It's like an RCA input on it or something.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting it
that
to
was
be
the problem I
DJs.
was having with it. Yeah. So it went in the box.
Pull it out of the box, set it up.
Will do.
And maybe because I'm pissing my pants that I need a bloody 15-year-old project recently about 10-year hiatus making music. Adapt, manipulate. That's excellent. Adapt is starting up a project again. Excellent. Pull it out and fuck with it, because there's so much excellent stuff that you can do it on. Okay. I have. We're sort of done. Does anybody else want to bring anything up, or we call it? Okay, let's call it. Thank you. This has been very excellent. This is every Saturday. We are here on Twitch or YouTube. Thank you to the Patreon supporters who are here. $3 a month or free. Take your pick. Patreon supporters get free copies of everything I do, and the new Ice Planet 9000 gets sent out to everybody on a MP3 Monday or Tuesday this week. Yeah, Nebula Suite. You can get it on Bandcamp if you haven't already. I'm very proud of it. That was a really weird thing, is it normally in my mind that a song's shit and I fucking hate it. And then I listen back to it and go, it's not that shit. It's funny.
The other way around.
Really?
You listen to a song you did before and you go, that's shit now. Especially the mix. I can't listen to anything after a while sometimes.
Wow. I don't know. Hold on, we'll get to that. Industrial Incisionist playlist. Go listen to it. Eric, throw me a new fucking song so I can add that. A whole bunch of shit you need to know about. Wednesday night, Culture Vulture does a deep dive into synthesizers, and it's bloody awesome. Check that shit out, please. What we are going to do now is we're going to raid to empty. Oh, Razi, thank you.
Hey, yes. No, thank you.
so much. This has been bloody awesome fun. We're going to raid on over to MTV TV now. So if you're watching this on anything else besides Magic Internet Land, we're going there. So let's set off a raid. Diana, if you're there, let's set off that raid. And Eric, what were you saying? Yeah, so let's raid. We're just going to hang back here and chat. Thank you for that raid. It's weird, man. I go through so much angst with tracks. Fucking mixing. That's why I'm finding angelspit hard, because it's like really, 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 really hard mix. We just raided.
You know, there's that point though, like 30 years later, when it's like, oh, it's just the technology. It's so different. Things just sounded different back then. And you've got this